My name is Emma Stephen, and I have been a senior technician at FiscalReps since 2012, and I am delighted to be your guide throughout today. Some matters of housekeeping before we start. There are no planned fire alarms today, so if the alarm does sound, please make your way to the signpost exits. Please ensure your mobile phone is switched to silent. Ladies and gents facilities are located at the end of the hall. We are filming today's Academy for podcasts on our website. Should you have any concerns about this, please speak to Ruth in the break. And so to the agenda. Today, we are delighted to welcome 9 external speakers. Together with our team of FiscalReps specialists, we hope to deliver you a day that meets your expectations. In your packs, you will find a copy of your agenda based on your selection of breakout sessions. 5 sessions will be run simultaneously, and your agenda details which 2 European breakout sessions you are attending in the morning, and the 2 global breakout sessions you will be attending in the afternoon. If you wish to change your selection, please speak to Ruth, who will be able to facilitate, just at the back there. You can find the breakout rooms as follows: the Peeps room, to the right, the Duke of Edinburgh room, opposite the registration desk downstairs, the reading room, which is the first room on your left, and the luncheon room, which is the second room on your left down the corridor, and the library, which is the room we are in at the moment. Feedback forms will be distributed at the end of the day, so therefore please complete for your chance to win a mini iPad just in time for Christmas. And so to begin, can I please welcome Mike Stalley, Chief Executive of FiscalReps.
Morning, everybody. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces from last year, and also a fair few new faces, I think, as well. For those of you who were here last year, I suspect one of the key differences is the moustaches have gone. I think as an exercise in raising money for a good cause, it was good. As a experiment in fashion, it wasn't that good. So anyway, the moustache has been shaved off this year. But thank you all for coming. Thank you to all our guest speakers who will be presenting over the course of today. As Emma said, it's our 8th forum of this kind, although over the course of this year we have been hosting a number of kind of mini forums, which we've called across Europe. So the likes of Milan, Madrid, Paris, Frankfurt, and a couple of other places. We've had sort of smaller forums over the course of the year where we've managed to meet a few other people as well. So, but thank you for coming to this event in London today. What we've tried to do this year is change the format slightly, and kind of this is a response to the feedback you gave us last year. I think what we're trying to focus on are more kind of technical breakout sessions. So the plan for today, there are a few sort of presentations in this room here, but then we're going to have more of a sort of a technical content. So the idea of having smaller groups of people, kind of specialist areas of content, and hopefully a bit more interactive. So that's sort of the plan for the sort of the major part of the day. As Emma said, you should have your kind of personalised agendas together, but obviously if you wish to change, please maybe just let Ruth know so we can sort of reorganise numbers and everything. In terms of today, the theme we've come up with is setting the pace for this year's Academy. And really, I think it's distilled down into a number of key elements. The first thing really is, certainly from a tax perspective, is kind of keeping ahead of the game. Tax has a habit of changing, and it has a habit of, tax law has a habit of changing very quickly or very suddenly. So I think, the key for practitioners really is to keep ahead of the game and to sort of identify the changes almost before they happen, if that's possible. The other sort of, another issue in terms of setting the pace is really being able to access accurate and reliable information quickly, which again, that's something that at FiscalReps we strive to do for our clients, is to give them access to good information and accurate information very, very quickly and very, very easily. So when things do change, people can sort of build the change into their systems quickly and effortlessly. From our perspective, in terms of setting the pace, we want to sort of maintain a reputation of good delivery of services, consistently quick delivery of services to a high standard. But I guess for you as sort of practitioners working within your organizations as well, it's kind of, it falls upon your shoulders to deliver the tax information within your organization as well. So I think it's important for you within your organization to kind of almost set the pace as well, and to keep your business units up to date and aware of tax implications and tax changes, so your business can operate with full information. A couple of things I'm just going to draw your attention to. Hopefully in your packs you should have one of these. This is our kind of new indirect tax report. We published one of these last year, and it sort of I think it went down quite well. So we decided to publish another one this year. There's a few more pages in there, a few more articles in there, so hopefully you'll find it an interesting read. Also included within there, we actually did a survey, sort of an IPT survey. I think probably the first of its kind. I'm not entirely sure, but we had over 130 respondents to the survey, which we were very pleased with. I mean, in terms of just kind of key highlights, really, what we found was that 81%, 81% of respondents said that they have the necessary resources to deal with IPT. 87% of respondents said they had the necessary networks in place to deal with IPT, which I think, that's a really great signal. I think that companies, they have the right systems, they know what to do, and also they know where to go if they haven't got the answers to hand immediately. The other interesting one, the result that came out was, I think, was over 80% of people surveyed said that IPT was either the most important or equally as important as other taxes within their business. So again, it's a it's a sign that IPT is being treated seriously. It's very important tax, but people have got a good handle on it and people are dealing with it effectively. Part of what we've always tried to do in the past sort of few years is to educate people and make people aware of tax and what they need to be doing. This event being a good example of that. So, we at FiscalReps like to think that we've played our role in educating people in terms of premium taxes, providing good information, and allowing people to make good decisions about their business. So I think it's probably fair to say that maybe premium taxes are probably not, the sort of the problem that was, maybe a few years ago. It was that kind of feared tax that people weren't really very keen on dealing with. I think the message seems to be that in general, people have got a good grip on premium taxes. They know what they're doing, and I think their businesses and the industry is benefiting as a consequence. Emma's run through the agenda for today, so I'll skip over that quickly. Before we sort of jump into the main events, if you like, for today, I was just going to run through a few things that I'd sort of, identified as things that happened in the past 12 months, really. In terms of taxes in general, I think, what we're seeing is taxes in general, they're still very much a hot topic. I did some sort of research on the internet yesterday, sort of before today's event. And there's interesting articles of referring to Google and Starbucks and some of these corporates who who are using tax planning strategies to kind of mitigate their tax bill and are being called to question as a consequence. And I think what that highlights is discharging your tax liabilities is an issue for companies. There's almost a full disclosure required these days, but politicians are very much they're trying to take the attack to corporates, if you like, and looking at tax avoidance and tax planning and making sure that people are paying their full tax liabilities. We're seeing, tax officers becoming a bit more proactive in their sort of search for additional tax revenues, and it's something we're certainly seeing. So, although the corporate tax is the high-level tax, which is often one reported on, we're seeing it in other areas of taxation as well. Financial transactions tax is an interesting one, maybe not affecting us all directly, but again, it's a tax that has been talked about in Europe. And again, I found a couple of articles yesterday. There was a sort of a legal opinion which suggested that the FET was going to be illegal. There was a survey from, I think it was Price Waterhouse, who said, it will never work, it's never going to happen. But then you go to the European Union website and they confidently talk about being introduced in 2014. So again, still much uncertainty, grey areas, but it's a way, you look at these governments and these sort of taxing authorities and they're looking at new sources of revenue in addition to existing taxes. I think in terms of FTT, really for us, it's kind of keeping a watching brief for now. In terms of enforcement, again, FATCA is something that's a very popular topic at the moment. Essentially, the American tax authorities trying to track down the American or non-tax-paying Americans, I guess, which is essentially what FATCA is about. Again, it has implications for all of us in Europe, and it's something that's causing a lot of uncertainty. Again, FATCA was delayed, I think, for 6 months until next year, but it's one of those things that is something else to deal with, some other compliance matter, and again, there's kind of uncertainty as to how best to deal with it. And again, legislation continues to change. We see tax rises, we see new taxes being introduced. There's just a constant kind of churn, I think, in terms of tax legislation. Looking at premium taxes, I think we've had fewer rate changes this year than the previous kind of 12, 24 months, which is probably a good thing. But what we are seeing are tax authorities, tax inspectors, they seem to be taking much more of a proactive approach in terms of reviewing the tax returns by their taxpayers, and also, sort of investigating tax affairs of taxpayers and making sure they're getting their full amounts that are due. I think in a couple of countries in particular, we've seen, more resources being put towards the premium tax team or the premium tax collection team within the tax authorities. I think there's a couple of countries where they've sort of staffed up in the past few years with a view to becoming more proactive and making sure they're collecting all their taxes which they believe are due to them. Tax administration is something that sort of, it's a constant concern for people. We always tend to feel that technically, yes, premium tax is complicated, but administratively, that's where most of the problems are. It's knowing which tax returns to file on which dates to which tax authorities. And each country has a different set of rules, and it's dealing with that kind of administration is often the biggest challenge. I think the German tax authorities are looking to kind of try and streamline the tax administration system to make it easier for taxpayers to pay their taxes. Alma is smiling in the front row there. But I think, I guess that they've figured out that, well, if we make the tax system simpler, more people will pay the right tax on time. So, there's a commercial benefit to making the tax system easier to manage. So, more of that, I think, is probably a good thing. In terms of VAT, again, VAT rates seem to be sort of creeping up slowly. China has introduced, I think China had a sort of a pilot VAT scheme in a number of provinces, and then earlier this year they introduced it across nationwide across the country. And there was a Credit Lyonnais case earlier this year regarding partial exemption and the treatment of branches. Where's Peter Hewitt? Where is Peter? He's on the second last row there. Peter is our VAT specialist. He joined us just over a year ago. So if you have any particular VAT concerns, Peter is the man to go to. In terms of us at FiscalReps, we've had a number of new joiners. Peter joined us in August of last year to build a VAT practice. I think he's been busy doing IPT, so he's not growing the VAT practice quite as much as he'd probably like, but we're on track to deliver the VAT as a kind of a parallel service with IPT. Stuart King, Stuart, do you want to just wave your hand? Yeah, Stuart joined us earlier this year. in a slightly different role, what we're looking to do is to kind of build a sort of a captive advisory practice to work alongside the tax practice. So Stuart joined us to help us grow that particular practice. He'll be hosting one of the breakout sessions today to focus on US taxes. Again, the sort of the My FiscalReps, which I think we've probably talked about over the last couple of years. We've sort of largely rolled it out across most clients now. Really what My FiscalReps is a kind of it's essentially an electronic filing cabinet. So you can log in as a client, get access to all your tax returns, all your tax data, at a press of a button. So it's all there for you to access when you need to. We're intending to add more sort of content through My FiscalReps over the course of the next 12 months, sort of more information. So hopefully it become your sort of your main point of contact in terms of gathering information or hopefully answering some of your tax questions going forwards. Earlier this year at the Captive Live UK seminar, which was held in London, we were named as Tax Advisory Firm of the Year. That was I think it was a big achievement for us. We're very proud to be named Tax Advisory Firm of the Year. As you can imagine, there were a few other larger advisory firms we were competing with, so we were delighted to sort of win that award. It was given to us by the captive industry. We have a sort of a captive specific team within FiscalReps, and I think it's a recognition of the good work that they do, but also, across the business as a whole, really. The fact that we do a very good job for our clients, the fact that we keep them tax compliant. So we're sort of thrilled to win that award. We're also in the process of obtaining an FSA license in Malta. We talked about something called Project Failsafe last year, which is essentially a way of helping clients fund their tax payments. One of the things we're aware of is often very difficult to move the money around in time to meet tax payments. By obtaining a license, we're able to kind of expand the range of services we can do for clients in terms of helping them with their client money and getting their taxes paid. So that's a project that's ongoing. Hopefully we should get the license by the end of this year, and we can sort of start putting our plans into place in early 2014. Just finally, we've sort of restructured the business internally at FiscalReps in the past few months. So as a client, hopefully what you should be seeing now is sort of a kind of a tiered approach, if you like, to client management. All of you should have a client director, and then a client manager, and then a client technician. The idea being that there's sort of 3 points of contact who know you, who understand your business, and who are sort of accessible and contactable on a day-to-day basis. That's the structure we've put in place probably in the last 12, 18 months. And it seems to work very well. I think, it's for us, it's very important to really understand your role within your company, what your company does, and the tax challenges within your business. And I think having that sort of structure in place has really enabled us to really get into the detail of what our clients do and help them out with their tax problems. Working alongside that, we've done a few other sort of internal restructuring process, if you like. Our IPT rate database, which was first built probably in 2006, 2007, we sort of went back to first principles this year and challenged every single item in the database so that we could just reprove it was correct, add some more enhancements to it. So basically we're in a situation now where if you ring us up and ask us a question regarding a particular rate of tax, we can give you the answer, but that answer will be supported by the local legislation in that particular country, and we can cross-reference every rate of tax in our database to a piece of legislation, which I think is important to give clients that kind of level of assurance or certainty in terms of what tax rates apply to their particular class as a business. In doing that, we also built a kind of a methodology in terms of challenging tax rate information, refreshing tax rate information, and making sure it's constantly up to date. We've called it TaxSure. Essentially, it's a methodology we use internally. Our job really is to, take the base database information, but challenge it constantly to make sure that it remains up to date, review country by country to see if there's any legislation that may impact. There's case law, tax office interpretation, tax office guidance notes. It's building these things constantly into a system so that we can make sure that when we're providing information or you're relying on our tax rates, they're always up to date, they're accurate, reliable, and they're kind of fit for purpose. The final thing I was going to touch on really is the last point here. And we called it a focus on continuity, resilience, and high performance. Now, this is something that we've sort of been working on internally for a while, and it's really a key aspect of our business, but it's something that, it's kind of easy to overlook or take for granted. Now, our job is essentially to file tax returns for you, the clients, on a monthly basis across, any number of different countries. In order to do that, we need to make sure that we've got a system in place that meets every deadline on a consistent basis, so nothing gets missed. Again, what we've done in terms of our internal restructuring, we've really formalized the process. So in things like reporting deadlines, internal resources, IT systems, we've sort of pulled them all together with a focus on delivering our services, in terms of continuity, with resilience and with high performance as well. So I think as a business, we're very much focused on this idea of continuity. You as a client don't want to know that we can't file your tax return on a particular month because, there's a member of staff missing, for example, or there's a member of staff sick. We've built in fail-safes to make sure that if someone is away, there are other people that can pick up the torch and get those tax returns filed. We're fortunate in that we have over 30 staff now. 30 staff who are all well trained, but also who are cross-trained, so they can do each other's jobs. We've got systems in place to make sure nothing gets missed, and we've got internal deadlines which we track and we report on every month. And all of those things joined up, I think, put us in a position where we can guarantee the filing of tax returns on a month-by-month basis, which is really what we're paid to do. So, but it's important to be able to say to clients, it's our job to be resilient, it's our job to continue as a business, and it's our job to perform at the highest possible standards. If we don't, then there's potential tax problems going forward. So it's something as a business we've focused on very much in the last few years.